My name is Samantha Murphy. I work with Island Adventures Whale Watching. My role at Island Adventures is one of the marine naturalists on board our trips. The goal is to teach our passengers about the wildlife that is here in the Salish Sea, their role in the ecosystem, and hopefully help inspire people to care about this beautiful environment in our backyard. Island Adventures is a whale watching company that's been running whale watching tours here in the Salish Sea for about 25 years now. Island Adventures is a proud supporter of the Skagit Fisheries Enhancement Group because that is an organization that is taking real action when it comes to salmon habitat restoration. The more historical salmon spawning habitat that we can make available to them once again, the greater returns we're going to see to the oceans, and the better off the whales are going to be and the better off the health of the Salish Sea ecosystem. We're here at Washington Park on Fidalgo Island. Behind us is a beautiful region of the Salish Sea. We're looking at Rosario Strait. This is where our tours leave from here in Anacortes. So as a naturalist, I work as a science educator on board our trips. I interpret the behavior of the wildlife as we're seeing it unfold. I'm telling the stories of the whales if we know them as individuals, which most of the time here we do. They're very well studied. And I'm teaching people about their greater role in the Salish Sea ecosystem and the importance of each species. So we have two orca populations that are culturally and genetically distinct, but living in the exact same environment, which presents a really unique opportunity for researchers to compare them because the population health differs greatly between the two right now. Southern residents are an endangered population. Bigg's killer whales are growing at a 4.1% rate annually now. They've had a bit of a baby boom recently. So when we compare the two populations, it's interesting because environmentally they're exposed to the same anthropogenic stressors, but prey differs greatly between them, indicating that nutritional stress is the greatest factor in the decline of the southern resident killer whales. So the diet of the southern resident killer whales is predominantly salmonids, meaning salmon like Chinook and chum, but during the summer season, over 80% of their diet consists of fat-rich Chinook salmon, which is why the recovery of Chinook is so vital for the success of this population. So Chinook are the most energy-rich salmonid here in the Pacific Northwest. So when southern resident orcas are eating Chinook, they're getting the most bang for their buck as far as energy spent for energy they're getting back. This is also runs that their ancestors have been following for decades, and they pass that information and that knowledge down through the generations. So our whale watching practices are guided by the best available science with the goal of mitigating any disturbance in the water with the wildlife that we're encountering. Key components to respectful whale watching out here in the Salish Sea include slowing your speeds when in proximity of whales, specifically to 7 knots or less throughout that encounter, and to parallel view, which means to travel along with the whale as opposed to parking in front of them or leapfrogging ahead to cut off their path. So the actions we take to help protect salmon here are ultimately going to help our southern resident killer whales and the greater Salish Sea ecosystem, because many of the factors impacting our salmon populations trickle down throughout the ecosystem. So for example, pollutants entering our watersheds, the impact we have on our climate and the way that climate will impact the temperatures in our ocean and the carbon in our oceans. All of that does influence the health of our salmon populations and ultimately the greater health of the ecosystem. So orca are the apex predators in our ocean. They play a vital role as such in maintaining balance and health amongst prey populations. So if we were to lose any of our orca populations here, it would have cascading effects in our ecosystem. No fish, no salmon, no southern resident killer whales. Healthy watersheds are, it's not just essential to our health. For me personally, being able to hike a beach and see the wildlife that's thriving out here, or hike through our forest lands and be able to see all the species that call it home in a healthy way is huge. Orca Awareness Month is an awesome opportunity to learn a bit more or get involved if you want to. There's tons of events happening throughout the Salish Sea region at this time of the year, whether it's salmon habitat restoration volunteer opportunities or live speaker events. Orca Awareness Month is just a great reminder of the beautiful ecosystem we have here and the species that we're all hoping to protect. Last year we had a trip where we were on scene with the southern resident killer whales, and when they're foraging, oftentimes they're spread out and down on longer, deeper dives. So we were waiting to see where they'd pop up, and one came up chasing a salmon at the surface, which is always incredible to see them in their element, going after their prey. And when we reviewed the photos from that encounter, we'd captured a moment where the orca's face was above the water and the salmon's face was above the water, and they were they were staring each other down. It was the perfect just encapsulation of the predator-prey relationship there, and really drove home the importance of the connection between the two.
Thank you so much, Samantha, for chatting with us today.
Absolutely.